Well, hello there. This is a presentation I did during the Great Lakes Grain Jeff Sherman meetings on our Spring Tech days earlier in the year, and we didn't have a chance to record it. I thought it'd be worth recording and sharing with the broader audience right now. So this is all about our digital ag strategy, the value of data in supporting agronomy decisions. And our board of directors came up with a digital ag strategy because data is everywhere. You know, it's the objective is to integrate our data that we generate on farm and in our businesses into one location, and connecting farms and collecting data drives this opportunity to do a better job on our decision making on farm and in our businesses. So when you look at where we are today, I mean, we're looking at mobility and connectivity like never before. We're using our individual phones for banking and ordering and purchasing and communicating, and even today in agriculture, we're connected from one piece of equipment to the next. Even our scale houses can send a blend ticket to the truck driver literally as he leaves the scale for settlements. Certainly our fertilizer technology is very mobile in terms of soil sample data and recommendations, and sending application maps to applicators and getting as applied maps back, and giving turn-by-turn directions to our applicators to a customer's field. So all this stuff is very much in the realm of where we are today, and being very connected in our strategy. So our digital strategy contains three pillars. It was, number one, we want to build those transparent relationships with our customers. We want to enhance that relationship using the technology of the day. And we also, at the same time, recognize the needs of our employees in terms of what kind of skills and training and tools will they need to grow and prosper in a mobile, digitally connected world. How will their jobs change? And of course, we are very sensitive to that and have training programs in place to make sure everybody has a good experience. And so our system, our strategy has a structure to it, and that we have a very big software program that we invested in from SSI called AgVance, supported through the GrowMark system that does development and support and provides technology. So we set up all our customer information, what we call the hub. This is where we put all your customer information, all your contacts, phone numbers, email addresses, and what have you, and list all your field names and get everything set up so that we only have to do this once. So everything else we do in this system, we never type a name or a field name again. We pick it off the database that's been set up, and of course we can edit and add to that at any time. The foundational structure that drives all this is that we have customers, and you have farms, and they have fields, and fields need a boundary, and once we have that, we know how many acres we're dealing with. So this foundational structure is absolutely vital if we're going to communicate between databases going forward through different systems and with different companies. So without this structure, you can't communicate with John Deere or SMS or any of the other services that are out there. So we have to go through this whole process of making sure we have all these things in our system, and that's what we've gone great lengths to do. And it's not because we're nosy or want to know what your business is. It really is about us being efficient and helping you also be more efficient in your managing of your operations. So we have a number of modules that are linked together and flow in all directions from this structure. So Customer 360, that's our internal database. So in a single page view, we get to see all the business that you've done with us over the years, get to see all your fields and blend tickets and prepays and bookings and all that contact information. And MyFS, that's your online portal to see the same things. You can see your field maps and boundaries, your soil sample data. If you share your yield maps with us, you see that data there, as applied maps, crop plans, all your invoicing, prepays, bookings, and statements are all there accessible to you, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So that's your access to everything that we do for you. Of course, we are big proponents of 4R nutrient stewardship and soil sampling. So at the heart of our agronomy program is working with current soil samples, nothing older than 4 years, in order to be compliant with our 4R stewardship certification. That also links into crop planning. This is where we do plans every year by customer, by farm, by field, by crop, by product. We're busy doing that right now and do several 100,000 acres a year of crop plans. That's all linked into our mapping program that follows the structure above. So this is where we have all of our data, where we keep harvest information, soil test information, as applied maps, and of course, any of the recommendations that are done on a variable rate basis are all generated inside our mapping program. Certainly our blending is connected to that. So once we do a crop plan and once we have a map, we can move stuff into blending, get the blend ticket ready so we can get the right product on the truck to meet the applicator in the field to do the variable rate application. All this stuff is connected in both directions. They flows back and forth, and is all integrated through our database. And we also have a dispatch system. So this is at each branch. We can see where all the applicators are in real time. We have the Inform app and the Apply app. So the Inform app is what the salesmen carry and people like myself. So I can see everything the dispatcher sees. I can see where all the applicators are in any given moment of the day. I can see how far across the field they are and when they're going to complete a job and what the next job is in the list and what we're spreading. And if you phone your crop sales specialist and you want to know where you are in the queue or where the truck is, well, they can look it up themselves without having to phone the dispatcher. So we're all connected in this way. And then the Apply app is what the applicators carry with them. And this is how they receive their turn-by-turn directions to the field. This is how they receive their spreading jobs that they're going to. This is how we send the files that they can upload into their system. And of course, the best part about this is once the job is done, and if you're set up in our system to receive the messages, you can get a text message that says your field's just been completed. We tell you which farm it is. We tell you what we've applied, how many acres, time in, time out, and now you can carry on with your next task. We don't have to remember to phone you. You don't have to remember to call us. It's pretty much instantaneous communication once we set all this up in our system. So you're starting to see the advantages of a digital connected database where information flows seamlessly from one activity to the next. And of course, we're hooked up with some external data gathering systems. So Climate Field View is one of them. And if you have your planter and your sprayer and your combine yield monitor all connected to Field View, it's very easy for you, if you so choose, to share that data back in our system. We can import that back into mapping and integrate that in with soil sampling and maybe use the yield map for the crop removal, the soil sample for the build function, and do a really good job of being very more precise on our fertility applications. And certainly planter maps showing us where the hybrids are planted, looking at hybrid performance, and sprayers, if we're doing different treatments in the field, we can check the performance of, say, biostimulants or different micronutrient treatments. And of course, there's also My John Deere is another platform that we can share data back and forth with. Certainly SMS AgFinity is another platform that some of our customers are using. All these things, we have a colorblind system, so we don't need to have John Deere software to communicate with John Deere. So we have a pretty colorblind open system to be able to communicate. And of course, if you have things on a USB stick, you can always bring those in the office too. That's more of a manual trip, but nothing wrong with that. That's how some people choose to move data, and that's okay. Just knowing that we can meet you wherever you are and you're on your technology. So this quickly, just this blue mass of dots is the extent of our mapping database. So if we just keep drilling down in there, you'll get to individual fields. We have some 13,000 fields we've held for customers since the early 1990s, some 720,000 acres. This is how we organize ourselves and be able to share data with you and do a better job of managing nutrients and managing crop production in general. So very quickly, what's the value in all this data? Well, this happens to be a grid soil sample. So on the upper left panel is where the sample sites were. Just show a few things here. On the top right is the soil pH, and you see all these different colors, or pH ranging from 5.8 to 7. So the field has quite a range in pH, and not all the areas need lime. We're looking at a phosphorus level next, and you see phosphorus levels varying from a low of 12 to high of 47. So not every acre needs the same rate of phosphorus, and the same on potash, ranging from 75 to 220 parts per million. Not all acres need a potash application either. So you take that soil sample data and turn it into an application strategy. So the top left is when we use the soil pH and the buffer pH map, we can create a lime recommendation. So this is where the lime needed to go. And the upper right is these are the areas that needed magnesium but didn't need lime. In the lower left is the phosphorus application. Some areas getting very low rates, other areas getting higher based on the soil test level. And on potassium, not every acre gets the same rate of potash. Now we're being very site specific in our nutrient application, the very essence of the 4R stewardship principles of right product, right rate, right time, and right place. So we have the tools to do a much better job of managing our nutrients across the field. And of course, when you share a yield map with us, we can see the variability in the field, look at where the yields are high and low, and get some insight into what might be going on in this field, and are these areas we can fix, or do we simply accept them as low producing areas? But this is a pretty stellar field, a 258 bushel average last year, and when you look at $8 corn, pretty good income across this field. But once we have the yield map, we can do things like looking at crop removal maps. So if the soil test level is where it needs to be and we just want to replace the nutrients, we can very precisely use the yield map and calculate the amount of MAP and potash that needs to go back on that field. And of course, once we have the yield map, we replace yield with dollars, and subtract the cost, and we can do a profit map. So in this particular case, the average was $1,352 an acre of gross profit. So we have to subtract from this land, labor, and equipment cost. So this is basically the cash cost. So when you have a good commodity prices and high yields, none of the acres lose money. So when you look at this, there's still a range of $1,447 an acre in income. So there's still opportunities to dig a little deeper and find out what's causing this range in income on a field. But these are some of the insights we can gather and some of the analysis we can do once we have data from you in our system. And of course, the other thing we can do is look at normalized yield maps, and then we can use that to form the basis then of going forward with this example of variable rate nitrogen application. We see the areas that are always high producing and the areas that are always low producing, and then we can look at some of the factors that go into that to determine what some of the nitrogen variable rate nitrogen application map might look like. In this case, ranging from 365 to 468 pounds of smart N per acre. So these are some of the other analysis and things we can get at to really help. And of course, with nitrogen being in the news lately, being more precise on our nitrogen applications is something that we all want to strive for. And just another example, the same thing, a different field. You look at normalized yield. We have a soil optics. We're looking at soil scans. This is the percent sand layer in the upper right-hand side. We can see some parts of this field are close to 74% sand. There's about below 40%. That speaks to nutrient behavior, water movement, organic matter levels, which then also plays into how we place some of our nutrients. So on the lower left is a soil organic matter map, and then the lower right is the plant available water, with the dark blue area being the area with the least amount of plant available water, and the buff colored areas being the highest amount of available water, which again helps us tailor some of our nitrogen, our variable rate plant populations, all of these things. So using some of the advanced scanning technology, we get other layers of information to look at to be more site specific in our management. And of course, when it comes to doing in-field tests using the applied technology, so this was an example of using the micro bin in our applicator to put 10 pounds of a soil applied manganese on in a trial. And of course, we got that recorded. So the big benefit here is that we didn't need to be in the field with stakes and tape measures and flags to mark out the treatment areas. And in the fall, we didn't need to be there with the weigh wagons. We used the yield map from the third-party custom operator, and we were able to merge those two data layers and simply do an analysis of yield by product. In this case, about a 1.7 bushel yield difference for the soil applied manganese. Not saying that's a super big response, but the idea here is using technology to make things simple to do field trials. Again, we didn't have to be there with a weigh wagon in the fall, and if it happens to get harvested at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, we still capture the data and we can still do our analysis. So these are some of the things that we can make our lives easier. We can do more field testing, especially when it comes to things like biostimulants. There's so many on the market. How do you sort through them? Well, the only way we're going to sort through them is to do on-farm trials. So this is just one example of some of the things we can do with the technology. And another one, this is a customer with FieldView on his own sprayer. We wanted to try a biostimulant at two different timings. So he made two passes with a 120-foot boom. And then 2 weeks later, I wanted to put a second application on. So we moved over half a boom width. So we ended up with 60 feet with a single application early, 60 feet with an early and later application, then 60 feet with a late application replicated twice. And again, we were able to go through, find out where the product was, use the yield map, and then we got our analysis. And in this particular case, we didn't see much benefit at all to this particular biostimulant in this particular field. So once again, this is how you gather knowledge and test things on farm and figure out what's working, what's not. So just an example of using the digital tools to make our life and our knowledge just a little easier to get at. So on our strategy, it is designed to meet the demands of the current and future needs of our customers. And as technology evolves, we have a system that also involves and can be added to sharing data, sharing ideas, providing that insight beyond the obvious. So we know where the sand knolls are, but what else can we figure out what's going on in there? Understanding what the problems are we're trying to solve with technology. This is often the first question that needs to be answered is when new technology comes or new products is, well, what problem are we trying to solve here? So understanding that, then putting in place the right kind of trial and documentation goes a long way. The demonstrating my field plots and as applied maps and yield maps, this is really where we think we're going to drive a lot of our interest, is being able to use these tools to do a little more testing on farm and increase our knowledge of some of these new and novel products that are coming to the marketplace. Remember, MyFS, this is your link to your data online anytime you want to look. If you're the person that's doing the accounting in your operation and you don't have time to do it at 7 o'clock at night when the house is quiet, well, you can log on at any time and get your statements and invoices and do your own reconciling. So that's really all I have time for. I appreciate the opportunity for presenting this, and I wish everyone a very productive and safe spring.